there's power in silence. And sometimes, the difference between survival and destruction is what you didn't say. In this world, it's not always the enemy with a gun you should fear. Sometimes, it's the smiling face beside you, gathering intel. People don't need to pull a trigger to kill you. They can kill your dream, your reputation, your peace, or your spirit, all with the words you carelessly gave them. So today, I'll tell you the 5 secrets you should keep to yourself if you don't want to get killed, figuratively or literally. Locked 1. Your next big move. Never broadcast your plans before they're real. Premature exposure invites envy, sabotage, and distraction. People won't always support you, they'll pretend to, just so they can derail you later. Let results speak. Make silence your strategy. Let your success announce itself. A lion doesn't roar before the hunt. It stalks quietly, then strikes. Brain 2. Your deepest weaknesses. This world doesn't reward vulnerability. It often weaponizes it. People listen not to understand you, but to find leverage. If they know what breaks you, they'll test you. If they know your insecurities, they'll push them. Save your bleeding for safe hands. The battlefield isn't the place to show your wounds. If you give them the blueprint to break you, don't be shocked when they do. Shield 3. Your family's flaws. Honor is protecting what's close to you, even when they're imperfect. Don't advertise your family's failures. Not because they're innocent, but because outsiders don't deserve that ammunition. Protect your tribe. Speak of them with loyalty, or not at all. Because when they fall, you fall too. When you expose their shame, you inherit their judgment. Locked with key 4. Your financial state. Whether you're rich or broke, stay silent. Money makes people weird. If they think you're broke, they'll treat you like you're worthless. If they think you're rich, they'll treat you like a target. Money is power, but only if it's protected. Let them guess. Let them assume. But never confirm. Mystery builds safety. Openness invites exploitation. Broken heart 5. Who you love, when it's real. When love is pure, it's fragile. Keep it off the stage. The more eyes you invite in, the more opinions, temptations, and comparisons start to seep in. What's sacred should be shielded. You don't owe anyone access to your heart's treasure. Guard it. Or watch the world poison it. Some things die the moment they become public property. The truth is, your silence is your sword. What you keep private isn't weakness, it's wisdom. In a world obsessed with oversharing, discretion becomes a superpower. So stay silent about what matters most. Not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting what others would destroy if they had the chance. Stay silent. Stay dangerous. People talk too much. Especially when they're excited. They land on an idea, feel a spark, and before they've even taken the first step, they've already told 10 people. Friends, coworkers, strangers online. I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna get in shape. I'm moving to a new city. And with every word they speak, the fire inside them dies just a little. That's the trap. You feel like you're moving forward because you're talking. But talking is cheap. Talking doesn't build anything. In fact, sometimes it destroys what you haven't even built yet. When you reveal your next move before it's solid, you invite judgment before you've even had a chance to prove yourself. People project their fears onto you. They start planting doubts. They'll say things like, "That's risky, are you sure you're ready for that?" Or, "I don't think that'll work in today's economy." And those comments don't just bounce off. They stick. They echo in your mind when you're working late or feeling uncertain. Suddenly, the move you were so sure about becomes clouded in fear. Then come the people who smile to your face but pray for your failure. Envy is real. People want you to win, just not more than them. The moment they sense you're about to do something bold, something they're too scared to attempt, they'll subtly work against you. Not always with open sabotage. Sometimes it's passive. They'll distract you, guilt trip you, offer fake support while quietly hoping you fall on your face. Why? Because your courage exposes their cowardice. Your ambition threatens their comfort zone. And if your plan fails, because sometimes it will, they'll be the first to say, "I told you so." But if you had never told them your move, your failure would have been private. You could have learned, adjusted, and tried again without the weight of their opinions pressing on you. That's the beauty of silence. When no one knows what you're building, they can't destroy it. When no one knows your timing, they can't rush or delay you. You own your rhythm. You own your progress. This doesn't mean you never talk to anyone. But you choose wisely. You share with people who've earned the right to hear your dreams, those who want you to win without strings attached. The rest? Let them stay in the dark. The strongest players in any game are the ones who move quietly. They train in silence. They build in silence. They endure in silence. And when they strike, the world doesn't see it coming. That's power. Your next move is sacred. Whether it's a new business, a career change, a personal transformation, or an escape plan from a toxic situation, it needs protection. It needs time to grow roots before it sees the sun. And every time you talk about it too early, it's like pulling a seed out of the soil to show people how it's growing. It won't survive that. Stay private not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. Let them wonder what you're up to. Let them think you've disappeared. Let them misjudge you. And when you're finally ready, let your results do all the talking. Let your success be so loud it silences everything they ever doubted. Remember, real power is quiet. Loud plans are often empty. The ones who truly move mountains are the ones you never saw coming. Never reveal your deepest weaknesses. Not because you should pretend to be invincible, but because the world doesn't always deserve to know where your armor cracks. People are not always as kind, as loyal, or as trustworthy as you imagine. What you think is honesty, others may see as opportunity to control you, belittle you, manipulate you, or outmaneuver you. You may believe you're sharing your pain to connect, to be real, to be human. But to the wrong person, that same pain is a blueprint for destruction. When you tell someone what hurts you most, what scares you, what shakes your confidence or stirs your self-doubt, you are handing them a loaded weapon. And you're assuming they'll never point it at you. That assumption is dangerous. Because even people you trust today may not walk beside you tomorrow. Even people who once loved you can, in a moment of anger or bitterness, turn everything you told them into ammunition. Secrets you shared during moments of intimacy can resurface in moments of war. And once those words are out, you can't take them back. The damage is done. The harsh truth is that some people are looking for a way in. They listen carefully. They smile warmly. They nod empathetically. But behind the softness is calculation. They are measuring your weaknesses. Storing them. Cataloging your emotional triggers. They know which button to press when they want you to break. And the more information you give them, the more control they have over your emotions, your decisions, even your sense of self-worth. They might not use that knowledge immediately. Sometimes, they wait. They wait for the day you challenge them, the day you stop serving their purpose. And then, suddenly, your past wounds become their sharpest weapons. Even in relationships built on love or friendship, there are limits. Boundaries matter. You can be open without being exposed. You can be honest without being vulnerable to sabotage. Not everyone deserves to see your scars up close. Some people will see your wounds and admire your strength. Others will press their fingers into the bruise just to watch you flinch. You need to know the difference. It's not about building walls. It's about building gates. You decide who enters, when they enter, and how far they get. Your inner world is not public property. It's sacred territory. You must protect it like you would a treasure, because it is. Your insecurities, your fears, your traumas, your doubts, these are the things that, in the wrong hands, can unravel you. And in the right hands? Even then, they need to be earned. Trust should be slow, not impulsive. People should prove they're worthy of your unfiltered truth before they ever receive it. You don't owe the world your pain. You don't have to confess every weakness to be understood or accepted. Real strength is often quiet. It holds the line. It keeps its center. It doesn't bleed just to show others it's human. Yes, vulnerability has power, but only when wielded with discernment. Vulnerability without boundaries is a recipe for regret. So learn to speak with wisdom. You can say you're struggling without detailing every demon. You can express your humanity without handing people the tools to break you. And when you feel the urge to open up, pause and ask, has this person truly earned the right to know this part of me? If the answer is no, stay silent. Not out of fear, but out of strength. Because what you protect can't be used against you. And in a world where too many smile while sharpening their knives, silence might just be the safest shield you've got. Protect your family's flaws, not because they are perfect, but because loyalty sometimes means holding the line even when it would be easier to walk away. Every family has its cracks, things unsaid, moments we wish we could rewrite, imperfections that linger in the background of who we are. But dragging those flaws into the light for the world to dissect doesn't cleanse them, it only invites judgment. And judgment from the outside rarely heals anything. Instead, it exposes the people you love to ridicule, gossip, and misunderstanding from those who don't care about context, history, or love. They only see the flaw, not the bond that holds it together. It's tempting to vent. When your mother disappoints you, your father fails you, or your sibling betrays your trust, the urge to tell someone, anyone, can feel overwhelming. You want to be heard. You want to be understood. And so, you begin to open up, thinking that talking will bring you clarity. Maybe it does. But what you trade in return is something sacred. You turn the private struggles of your family into public spectacle. And once the words are out, once you've let others peer behind the curtain, you can't control what they do with what you gave them. Maybe they whisper it to someone else. Maybe they judge you silently. Maybe they start treating your family differently, even long after you've forgiven them. You may have moved on, but the world doesn't always move on with you. Family is complicated. The ones closest to us have the greatest capacity to hurt us and the deepest ability to shape us. And that proximity makes everything more intense: love, disappointment, pride, shame. But the flaws of those you love shouldn't be fuel for casual conversation or careless confession. Because when you speak ill of your blood, you aren't just revealing them. You're revealing yourself. You are tied to them whether you like it or not. You share history, DNA, and memories that no one else can touch. When you tear them down, you chip away at your own foundation. There's also a kind of dignity in silence. In choosing not to expose people for the things they've done wrong, even when you have every reason to. It shows restraint. It shows character. It shows that you value loyalty over temporary relief. And while the world may celebrate openness, it rarely honors the cost of that openness. It rarely understands the burden of having your family's flaws become fodder for conversation, analysis, or worse, mockery. This doesn't mean you accept abuse. It doesn't mean you deny harm. But it does mean that healing should happen behind closed doors when possible. Not everything is meant for the public. Not every mistake needs an audience. Sometimes, the most powerful act of strength is simply protecting the very people who, in their brokenness, helped raise you, shape you, or stand beside you through your own flaws. Because one day, you will be the one making mistakes. You will be the one others talk about. And in that moment, you'll want the same mercy you refused to give. What we do with the flaws of those we love says more about us than it does about them. Anyone can expose, condemn, or criticize. But it takes wisdom to hold your tongue. It takes love to shield someone's name when it would be easier to blame them. And it takes vision to realize that tearing down your family in front of others doesn't make you look strong, it makes you look disloyal. In the end, silence is not always about suppression. Sometimes, it's about protection. Not for the sake of hiding the truth, but for the sake of preserving something bigger than the flaw itself, the bond that might still be saved. Stay silent about your finances, not because you're hiding something, but because money has a strange way of changing how people see you. The moment people know what you have, or what you don't, they start making assumptions. They project their values onto your worth. If you have too much, you're arrogant. If you have too little, you're lazy. And somewhere in between, you're still being measured by standards that may not reflect your reality. That's the danger of sharing too much about your financial life. It invites attention, judgment, and, more often than not, unnecessary drama. When you tell people how much you earn, what you've saved, or what you've spent, you open a door that rarely leads to anything good. Some will envy you. Some will expect more from you. Some will resent your success and try to downplay your achievements. And others will quietly look for ways to benefit from your generosity. Suddenly, your relationships become imbalanced. You're no longer just a friend, a sibling, or a partner, you become a source. A target. A lifeline. Or worse, a symbol of what they believe they're entitled to. That's when people stop seeing you and start seeing your wallet. Even in close relationships, money can complicate things. Family may begin to ask for help not based on need, but based on the assumption that you can afford it. Friends may expect you to pay more or always pick up the bill. Romantic partners may shift from connection to calculation, wondering not who you are but what kind of future you can financially provide. And if you're struggling financially, the opposite happens. You're seen as a burden. People start giving advice you didn't ask for. They begin treating you with subtle pity or condescension. They think your worth has dropped, just because your bank account did. Talking about money also exposes your vulnerabilities. If people know you're in debt, they may question your decisions, your intelligence, or your priorities. If they know you just came into wealth, they may question your character or your luck. In both cases, your financial status becomes a lens through which your actions are scrutinized. Privacy protects you from that. It gives you space to move, to plan, to grow, or recover without the weight of outside opinions steering your direction. There's also a deeper issue. When money becomes part of the conversation, authenticity often disappears. People begin to act differently around wealth. Conversations shift. Motivations get murky. What was once genuine becomes transactional. Even the way people respect you can change, not because you've changed, but because their perception of your status has. And once you notice it, it's hard to unsee. That's when you realize that your silence was never about secrecy, it was about peace. Keeping your financial life private gives you freedom. Freedom to live below your means without judgment. Freedom to invest, save, or spend how you choose without pressure. Freedom to help others on your own terms, not out of obligation or guilt. And freedom to fail without the world watching and waiting to pounce on your mistakes. Because money isn't just numbers, it's deeply tied to pride, ego, fear, and identity. Sharing it recklessly is like leaving your doors unlocked in a neighborhood you barely know. You might be fine for a while, but eventually, someone will walk through that door and take what they didn't earn. So, stay silent. Let them guess. Let them wonder if you're rich or broke. That uncertainty is your protection. It keeps you in control. Because once people believe they know what you have, they start deciding what you owe. And what you owe should always be up to you. Keep your real love life hidden, not because you're ashamed of who you're with, but because the most sacred things in life deserve protection. In a world where everyone feels the need to broadcast every kiss, every date, and every romantic gesture, there is real power in keeping some things just between you and the person you love. When your relationship is constantly on display, it stops being just about the two of you. It becomes entertainment. It becomes a subject for speculation, for judgment, and for interference from people who have no place in your private world. The moment you make your relationship public, you invite the opinions of people who don't know your story, your struggles, or your connection. Strangers begin to analyze your smiles, your captions, your photos, and your silence. Friends who never cared before suddenly feel entitled to comment or offer advice. People start asking questions they wouldn't ask if you weren't so open. They assume access, and with that access, they often bring confusion. Some will project their own insecurities onto your relationship. Others, out of jealousy or boredom, will try to poke holes in it. They'll wonder if it's real, if it's strong, if it's as perfect as it seems. And in their eyes, even your private moments become something they think they have a right to dissect. Worse than the opinions are the temptations. The more visible your relationship is, the more vulnerable it becomes. Not everyone wants to see you happy. There are people who take pleasure in disruption. They'll try to test your boundaries. They'll slide into your partner's messages. They'll whisper doubt into your ear. It's not always malicious, it's just human nature. When people see something good, they either want to have it or tear it down. And if your relationship is always on display, it becomes an easy target. Intimacy is about trust, and trust grows in quiet spaces. It's in the late-night talks no one else hears, the shared glances no one else sees, the silent understandings that need no explanation. When too many eyes are watching, those moments start to fade. You begin performing instead of connecting. You start thinking about how things look instead of how they feel. Your love becomes curated instead of real. And in chasing validation from others, you lose the purity of what you had in the first place. Keeping your love life hidden doesn't mean hiding the person you care about. It means protecting the energy you've built together. It means creating a space that belongs only to you two, a space that isn't shaped by likes, comments, or outside influence. It's not about secrecy, it's about security. Real love doesn't need an audience. It just needs two people who choose each other, every day, without needing the world to clap for it. There's also something deeply grounding about knowing that your love isn't for show. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not chasing applause. You're building something solid, quietly, intentionally. And if something goes wrong, if you fight, if you struggle, if things change, you're not doing damage control for the world. You're just figuring it out, together, without added pressure. That's rare. That's powerful. Let others post, share, and seek attention. Let them live their relationships on stage. You don't need that. When love is real, it doesn't crave validation. It craves presence. It craves protection. And sometimes the strongest way to love someone is not by shouting it from the rooftops, but by holding it close, in silence, where no one else can touch it. Silence is safety. In a world that demands constant commentary, instant reactions, and unfiltered access to your thoughts and life, choosing silence can feel like rebellion. But it is a powerful kind of rebellion. Silence shields you. It gives you space to think, space to breathe, and space to observe without exposing yourself. While others rush to speak, to prove, to defend, silence allows you to listen. And in listening, you learn. You begin to see what others miss, the hidden motives, the subtle manipulation, the true nature of people when they think you're not paying attention. When you speak too quickly, you give too much away. You reveal your emotions, your intentions, your insecurities. And in the wrong company, those revelations can be used against you. Silence protects your inner world. It keeps others guessing. It creates boundaries without ever having to draw lines. While words can be twisted, misinterpreted, or thrown back at you, silence remains unbreakable. No one can misquote what you never said. No one can distort a message you didn't deliver. In silence, you remain in control. People often mistake silence for weakness. They think if you're quiet, you must not have anything to say. But the truth is, the ones who speak the loudest often do so to cover up their fears. Real strength doesn't need to broadcast itself. It moves silently. It knows that power doesn't come from how many words you throw into a room, but from how intentional those words are when you finally choose to speak. Silence teaches patience. It teaches discipline. It teaches the wisdom of waiting until the time is right, not just to respond, but to act. In conflict, silence can be your armor. When others try to provoke you, to bait you into arguments or drama, staying quiet denies them the satisfaction of control. It disarms aggression. It frustrates manipulation. It forces the other person to wrestle with their own energy instead of feeding off yours. In moments of anger, silence keeps you from saying something you'll regret. In moments of sadness, silence allows you to feel without performance. And in moments of clarity, silence gives your thoughts the space to form fully before they're shared. There's also power in what you don't let the world see. Your ambitions, your plans, your strategies, they all gain strength when kept in silence. Because once you speak them, others begin to weigh in. Some will support you, but many will doubt you, question you, or try to derail you. The fewer people who know your next move, the harder it is for anyone to stop it. Silence allows you to build without interruption. To create without distraction. To grow without outside noise drowning out your inner voice. In relationships, silence fosters understanding. It gives room for people to show who they are instead of just telling you. You begin to see what's real, not just what's said. And in those quiet moments between words, the truth often reveals itself: who respects you, who uses you, who values your presence beyond your performance. Silence is where intuition speaks the loudest. It's where clarity lives. There will always be pressure to speak up, to share, to overshare. But remember this. Not everyone deserves your thoughts. Not everyone has earned your story. Not everyone is safe for your truth. Sometimes, silence is not just a choice, it's a shield. A shield against chaos. A shield against exploitation. A shield that says, I don't owe you my voice just because you demand it. In silence, there is strategy. There is safety. And most of all, there is strength. So, in a world where words are currency and attention is a weapon, remember this: your silence can save you. Not everyone deserves to know your weaknesses. Not everyone can be trusted with your family's flaws. Not everyone should hear about your finances, your real love life, or the depths of your inner world. Some truths, when spoken too freely, become tools in the hands of the wrong people, tools that can be turned against you when you least expect it. So protect your peace. Guard your privacy like your life depends on it, because sometimes, it truly does. Stay silent, stay smart, and stay safe.